Axis will be looking at a number of products that can be used as part of a frictionless solution, including the Network Video Door Station, which is a fully-fledged security camera, a powerful communication device, and a convenient door opener in one single device. Following the session, you'll be prompted to join the live Q&A.
Hi and welcome to today's Tech Talk from Axis Communications on frictionless access control solutions. So you may be asking yourself, why are Axis choosing to talk around frictionless access control? Well, it's pretty clear from our side. This has become one of the most talked about offerings over the last 6 months. And we've seen lots of discussions around the industry resulting in arguably more questions than answers. Where at one time discussions around frictionless access control centred on business efficiency or the customer experience, conversations today now increasingly focus on concerns around compliance and COVID secure guidelines, and really important, the need to protect employees and customers from infection. Now, to support this claim, we've seen government organisations, industry associations, etc. emphasise the importance of this topic. We've seen the Centre for Protection of National Infrastructure publish information around automatic access control and COVID-19. And we've also seen the British Council of Officers publish a briefing document in the last few months, and that was Thoughts on Office Design and Operations After COVID-19. So it is no wonder the profile of this subject has increased so much over the last few months. Now, there's obviously a desire for people to get back to the office, and rightly so, but this must be done with safety in mind. Now more than ever, security systems, and specifically access control solutions, have their part to play in getting people back to the office in a safe manner. Now, what I'd look to focus on today is some of the important considerations when choosing your access control partner. What technology is available to support frictionless access control systems, and where we've seen these systems deployed already. And an important one is the benefits that this has brought to the end users that have deployed these systems. So hopefully at the end of this session, you'll feel comfortable with the concept of alternative access control credentials. You'll have questions that you can ask your vendors, and you'll be able to challenge them about the technologies that they're recommending. And finally, regardless of whether you're an end user, a systems integrator, or even a consultant, you'll know what technologies are available in supporting with future-proofed access control solutions and solutions that will support frictionless access control. So let's take a look at really what's at the heart of the solution and why this is so important. And it really starts with the door controller. And in this instance, an access door controller. So what makes an access door controller different or unique? Well, it's not about playing top trumps with data sheets and seeing who's got the most credentials, etc., etc. It's about how we evaluate them. It's around the door controller being a true IP door controller that is aligned to IT, but addresses physical security, much in the same way that Axis did 30 years ago with the network surveillance cameras. So why is this so important? Well, if we introduce the first truly open protocol door controller onto the market, we have the opportunity to embrace OnVIF. We offer out an API or a software development kit that supports our development community, of which Axis have over 3,000 partners globally. And in our partner ecosystem, that is really what makes intelligent devices. This is what makes it so powerful today and allows us to make the leap into the future. Just consider the research and development budget that we will get from 3,000 different companies to support end users and meet new and unique challenges. No longer should an end user be stifled for innovation from a single source supplier, when there are solutions on the market that will genuinely overcome lots of different considerations and issues. Now, the access door controller in our portfolio, it embraces the important technical considerations for both a frictionless access control solution, but also modern access control systems and even cloud-based offerings. And we focus on 4 key areas: the importance of cybersecurity, the benefits of an open platform, the benefits of power over Ethernet, which has been described as potentially the 4th utility in building and facility design, and fully network ready. So if we start with number 1 and cybersecurity, whilst traditional security tends to focus more on network security, this has left many unanswered questions and risks related to device security and what happens when someone's within a network. Now, this is exactly why we've seen large enterprises discussing the concepts of zero trust security models, where application and device security has never been so important, and with a greater level and a greater emphasis on device security. Are traditional access control platforms aligned to a zero trust security model? One consideration has to be around the deployment of RS485 controllers. Yes, we will potentially see a reduction in hardware costs, but what are the potential risks of installing dumb devices that rarely carry a MAC address? They're not monitored, and they're generally unidentifiable on a network as an asset, unless we specifically know what they are. At the same time, organisations' cyber maturity has never been so important, especially when we focus on applications and device security. So this is where we start to focus on important considerations like secure boot, signed firmware, secure elements, and trusted platform modules. At the same time, we need to evaluate a business's internal policies and procedures. They are equally as important. So we're looking at vulnerability management policies, security advisory notifications, and a technology partner's hardening guide. And also, do they take an internal look at themselves and focus on external certifications like ISO 27001, or in the UK's Cyber Essentials? We can discuss all the fantastic opportunities that a frictionless access control solution will deliver. But we shouldn't overlook cybersecurity, and it's not an IT issue. We've seen organisations like ASIS International talk around enterprise security risk management and the real important areas of establishing a cross-functional security team that looks to identify cyber-physical risk. Just think, it would be a catastrophic disaster if the investment that we made in our access control systems was the root cause of some form of cyber breach, which may have resulted in a loss of data, business downtime, a loss of intellectual property, damage to the brand, or even business fines. Now, looking at number 2, and that's the benefits of open systems. A truly open system gives users choice. The choice to add additional applications and solutions to them. Now, should your access control solution or installment dictate your future security strategy just because it can't be modified, or it's going to cost too much money to make modifications and make these additions? Now, if we focus on number 3, that is really the benefits of power over Ethernet. So buildings today, they're flooded with network cable infrastructure. And we've heard all the benefits across the industry around converged security systems, smart building, etc. So why not utilise that infrastructure to reduce the need of localised fuse spares and ultimately save money throughout the installation process? And finally, point 4 is a fully network-ready device. So as I've just mentioned before, obviously buildings are designed, they are now becoming more reliant than ever on network infrastructure, and rightly so. But when we talk around network ready, what does this mean for manufacturers? So that essentially means device hardware and software specifically being designed to work and communicate across networks. A lot of traditional access control systems have essentially strapped an Ethernet connector onto the device and said, there we go, it'll work on network. And it probably does. But is the statement network ready, truly correct? So right at the beginning of this session, I also mentioned alternative credentials. So let's take a look at how alternative credentials are supporting frictionless access control. So some may say it all started with license plate recognition systems. And this is where we take a vehicle's license plate and that will give us, that'll control access to a car park for visitors and staff. It's as simple as tagging a vehicle's registration plate to an individual and creating a credential associated with their license plate. Now, this is common practice today and is well established across lots of businesses, and that's due to, very deep integrations between video surveillance systems and the access control platforms. What we've also seen is the security added to these systems, which is the next layer. So where we're starting to see the introduction of vehicle recognition capabilities, which is an analytic that sits on a camera. So essentially the license plate should be attached to a specific model. Now let's say a silver Audi. So the camera will analyse the vehicle type against the associated license plate. And it will send a signal saying, yes, that is the correct license plate based on that model, or it can reject access based on that information. Now let's fast forward a few years and we're starting to talk around mobile devices and QR codes. So why do we love our mobile device? Well, it's our trusty sidekick, it never leaves our side. And if we're being honest, if we leave the house, we're probably turning around to collect that device, even if it's going to make us late. If we lose that device, we are definitely calling our service provider and we're having that phone blocked. But one of the biggest benefits is multi-factor authentication. So if we have credentials stored on the phone, essentially we need to unlock that device either by a PIN or a fingerprint, or on both, on some occasions both. So it gives us that additional layer of security. And now when we look at the adoption of QR codes, we've recently seen this talked about in the documents published by the British Council of Offices. And they specifically focus on QR codes and the deployment for visitor management systems. Now this isn't something new to Axis. We've seen QR codes released across our portfolio and within our ecosystem for over 3 years now. And one of the key benefits of a QR code, it's the cost. It is far less or even nil in comparison to the comparison of a traditional credential when we consider the huge costs that business have to pay for cards. And when we talk around cards, let's not forget the environmental impact when we consider the use of that much plastic. Axis can read your name in a QR code just by adding an analytic into a camera. We can also authenticate the code before we send that over to the access control device. And then, hey presto, we have a QR credential, just in the same way that you have a card credential. But more importantly, where are we seeing this deployed? Well, we're seeing this widely adopted in visitor management systems, and understandably so. But we're also starting to see doors that require out of hours access, maybe for contractors or for deliveries utilising QR codes, and clients that manage huge number of remote sites such as utilities companies. By presenting a QR code to a video door station, you can control access quickly, efficiently, and reliably. You also take control of the QR code privileges, much in the same way as a traditional credential. You can make QR codes single use, and you allow them to access certain sites at certain times, and you can fully lock that down as and when necessary. And one of the added benefits is using a video door station, which gives you the capabilities to speak with someone at an entrance when you need to. So no longer do people need to travel to site to meet contractors to administer access. So very, very efficient. Now, if we look at an additional credential, and possibly the most exciting for me, is facial recognition. And this is where we're able to use facial recognition technology to create alternative credentials rather than traditional cards. And why is this so exciting? Now, this is possibly the strongest and will potentially be the most widely adopted of all of the different applications we talk around. And generally, facial recognition technologies have been known for an acceptable level of accuracy, and that is a massive improvement on years gone by. But what is important to acknowledge is the accuracy has significantly improved when we bring this into an access control environment. You may be asking, so why is this? Well, we control the environment. We set the lighting levels to optimize the camera's performance. We manage the approach. We use barriers and turnstiles. And through barriers and turnstiles, we can control the speed that people are coming to and from the cameras. So no longer are people stuck at the barrier, rummaging around their bags, balancing their morning coffee on the turnstile, looking for their keys. And we've seen it all before. Spill, the coffee's over the turnstile, and there's the next service call right there. But one important thing that we need to consider, and rightly so, is concerns around privacy and GDPR, the legislation. So as these applications are deployed in controlled private environments, employees essentially give their consent and permission for their personal data to be used for solutions to work. Now, this is very different when we consider the use cases, when we compare these to public space environments where the use of facial recognition has generated so much debate. So presently, face detection, recognition are typically deployed on a server. However, what we are seeing is the emergence of edge-located processing capabilities, all managed through the camera, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, we need to consider that the latest processing chip that's built by Axis has more processing capabilities than all the earlier generations of RPEC chips put together. Now, this is going to support with a quicker, faster detection. It's going to support with a faster response, and it's going to reduce the ongoing associated costs, as we no longer need expensive servers, we don't need racks, we don't need to keep these environments cool. And this will deliver true intelligence in the network through connected devices, and will deliver real valuable information and data to users, especially end users. So let's take a little look at where we're seeing some of these examples where facial recognition has been put through their paces. So one example is a large fitness chain wanted to improve security efficiencies, but importantly, reduce fraudulent activities by shared memberships. They identified that the root cause of the problem was members sharing traditional access control cards. Now, without wanting to increase staffing to police access to their sites, they turned to technology. The gym chain took the decision to replace their traditional access card membership system with a CTEC solution, who are an Access partner, where they utilised the facial recognition system for the means of access. Now, this national gym has reported fantastic results, even saying that they've seen a return on investment within 6 months due to the reduction in fraudulent memberships. And as an added bonus, they even voiced their approval of the system and talk around how their members have really benefited from an improved customer experience. Now, a second example is from an international sports retailer who have used these technologies to support a quicker and more efficient means of servicing their customer, while at the same time supporting their staff regarding health and safety matters. Now, the solution essentially utilises facial recognition to control access to front and back of house environments. Firstly, for security purposes, it stops members of the public watching to see what the security code is on the keypad, and it also stops members of the public using lost or stolen access control cards. Now, from a supporting the customer point of view, the facial recognition system is linked to a door controller, and this essentially opens and closes the door for members of staff. And it reduces the time to serve the customer, so we can be more efficient. And finally, from a health and safety point of view, essentially what we're seeing is staff will carry boxes to and from the front to the back, and it mitigates the need for people to be putting boxes on the floor, picking them up, trip hazards, etc. So it's helped from a health and safety point of view. Now, and what they have also reported is, again, this is an example where they've shown a quick return on investment, where they've been able to increase how quickly they serve customers and the number of customers they serve each day. So improved security and supported with health and safety, and has served the customer. Now, it's safe to say the adoption of facial recognition technologies for Frictionless is being rolled out. These are proven technologies that will generate a quick return on investment. So feel comfortable that the systems of yesteryear are no longer around. These are reliable systems that can be afforded. So, to wrap up, my final thoughts are, if you're an end user looking at frictionless access control solutions, invest in systems that will enhance your staff or customer experience. It's really important to make sure your purchasing decisions address the current climate, but equally consider things that may happen in the future, things that we're not even aware of. If you're a consultant, please consider, are these systems that are being specified, are we looking at designs based on a 30-year-old topology or an architecture? And is that the right approach? Does the design, does it truly embrace the benefits of utilising a common infrastructure? And are the specified devices intelligent and secure? And will the design support your customer's long-term strategy? If you're a systems integrator, work with your existing customers to educate on industry innovations. Talk to them about the art of possible. And just think, there's been a huge investment in technology over the last 18 months. And finally, for all stakeholders, make sure the systems offer an ongoing strategy around choice, both for today and tomorrow. Embrace open platform systems. Embrace systems that are network ready and will work within a network infrastructure. Make sure the devices are intelligent, and let's leverage the benefits of power over Ethernet. And at the same time, embrace our responsibilities when it comes to cybersecurity, rather than suggesting it's an IT issue. Now, that's all from me. Thank you for your time. Have a great day and stay safe.
So, hello everyone. Thank you very much indeed for joining us for this IFSEC Tech Talk. You have almost certainly just been watching Access Communications talking about frictionless access control, and I'm delighted that the star of that video, Stephen, is joining us here today, along with his colleague Ian, and we've got 5 or 6 minutes or so to try and cram in as many questions as we possibly can to them. So we've already had some questions come in. Thank you very much indeed for all of your questions. If there's a question that you want to ask, then ask it. If there's someone else's question that you like the look of, give it a thumbs up to promote it through our list. But I'm going to dive straight in with a question for, again, Ian, Stephen, whoever wants to pick it up, go for it. Why do you think facial recognition will be the most widely adopted approach to access control moving forward? Thank you for the question. Which of you wants to pick that one up?
I'll pick that up. So I think we're looking at the advantages of technology at the moment. One of the reasons that's been holding back facial recognition systems over the years has been it's been incredibly costly, and the accuracy has been not as reliable as people wanted. But what we're generally seeing now is that now these technologies can be deployed directly into the camera, and the accuracy of 3D modeling of people's faces. When we see the deployment of this technology against the traditional access control system, people can't lose their face, can they? So they're not losing their cards, they're not losing their mobile devices, and essentially it's really quick and easy to deploy these systems now. And when we talk around the concept of frictionless, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get away from the point of having to touch devices. We're having to get away from sort of the mechanical and additional layers of hardware that are around a door unnecessarily. So as the cost comes down for facial recognition and the deployment can sit in the actual camera technologies, we will start to see the adoption of that a lot more, and just because the costs make sense and it addresses the needs of today.
I guess that is, you're right, that is technology, just the same as speech and voice recognition and other areas that has become more mature, it seems, in recent years, and I guess more reliable. You know, I guess we can rely a lot more on facial recognition when it comes to that. More questions coming in. Thank you very much. How many companies are open in the access control supplier industry, and is this going to be a trend moving forward? Thank you for that question.
Yeah, personally thinking, and I don't think there's many people that kind of provide open protocols. One thing with Access, we always pride ourselves from the early kind of beginnings of Access that we have an open protocol. So it allows not just us to publicly release our API, as it were, but it allows a lot of parties to integrate into our devices, so that those devices could be access controllers, or it could even be cameras. So we really kind of want to build the kind of the ecosystem of people providing different solutions together with our partner network to provide applications on the edge. So just like what Steve says, when it comes to facial rec, to harness the power of these edge devices, as the technology gets better and the capabilities of that edge device gets and more capable, we can deploy better and more open solutions that fit for the customer's needs, rather than relying on that one company's kind of system, as it were. If we can provide more openness to standards to allow people to integrate, we provide better solutions that the customer wants, and we're not tied to being a access solution, as it were.
Can I just add to that? So when we look at an access control, it's a platform, and it's a component in a bigger picture. Now, Access have got 46 companies that actually integrate into that platform. So when we look at QR codes, facial recognition, license plate, we look at lots and lots of different technologies that are available, and end user demand is going to drive openness. And we have to some extent been held back by people wanting the biggest piece of the cake, because they control that. So really, we need people to see the value in it, adopt the value, and basically drive demand and make more businesses open. There are some, but there can absolutely be more.
Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to move us on to the next question. There's one that's had 3 upvotes here on the Q&A panel, and it is this: what does Access do to ensure that their partners are properly cyber secure before allowing them to connect to Access networks on a client site? So yeah, ensuring cyber security throughout the chain, throughout all of the links in the
so that's a very good question, actually, and it's an important one, especially in the current times. So as part of the onboarding process to be a partner of Access, we have something called the Application Development Program and technology partners. And actually, what we do is we go through a two-way process of actually of working with our partners to make sure that they embrace some of the principles of cybersecurity that sit very well within Access. Now, it's impossible for us to dictate to our partners what level of cybersecurity they embed within their own technology. But what we do is we will evaluate and work with partners that have got a shared sort of methodology and a shared process that is aligned to us as a business. And that is part of them becoming an Access development partner or a technology partner. And then what we will do is we'll actually work with people that are installing and maintaining these systems to make sure that actually they are leveraging the benefits from an end-to-end strategy. So we can work with a lot of our technology partners to make sure there is best of breed with cybersecurity at the heart of the technology.
We're running out of time, so I'm just going to pop another question to you before we wrap up. What challenges do you see from a technical standpoint using facial recognition or QR codes as a form of credential? I saw in the clip of the film there using QR. I love QR codes. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of them, as we already are with track and trace around. But so challenges from a tech point of view, facial recognition, QR codes.
To me, there's a couple of challenges with both. If we just take the facial rec one first, the challenge is getting the right camera in the right position and being able to provide the right type of view. And I think some of the challenges come where there's an expectation that one camera can do multiple purposes, when really you need to kind of designate a camera or device for that single purpose. And on the terms of QR code, the challenge you have is slightly around the kind of security aspect, and that's why kind of Steve mentions in his video is, ideal. We can see it initially for things like visitor management, where you can control where the credential goes. Yes, the credential could get passed to someone else, but you just allow them in maybe the front door to reception just as a form of a visitor. What will come next is a closer tie-in with a QR code and technology on your phone to be able to provide multiple forms of credentials. So that may be something like a QR code in conjunction with maybe a GPS position or like that, or even the other way around, where you present your camera to the QR code and that camera does the kind of identification form, whose phone is it, where location is it, has he been authorized, that way around. So rather than you present a QR code to a camera.
Super. We are pretty much out of time. Do you know what? It's nearly lunchtime. I'm going to ask one more question that's just come into the queue here before we wrap up. Can the video technology utilize in access control hardware and managing passenger customer flow also be harnessed for security purposes? Interesting one. So, do you want me to read that one again?
Read that one again.
I did read very, very quickly. Can the video technology utilized in access control hardware and managing passenger customer flow also be harnessed for security purposes? There we go.
I think I understand the question. I think that the technology is there to benefit like a cross-functional stakeholder model. So yes, absolutely, the access control and the video is there to enhance the customer experience, and it absolutely is. And when we're looking at people's movement around sites, it is there to make people more efficient. But its primary focus is largely on performing some form of security application. These are security technologies.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and the asset owner is traditionally a security manager. So they have to be cross-functional that will benefit multiple stakeholders.
Good stuff. Listen, we are out of time now. So thank you so much for coming on, answering questions, varied questions from our audience. I'm going to say, if anyone would like to find out more, maybe apply some more questions your way, how are they best to do that?
Assuming our contact details have been given there, if the contact details aren't available, please feel free to reach out to me directly. My email is stephen.kenny@axis.com, or go on the axis.com website, where we've got lots of support and information readily available.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning, and thank you for tuning in to the IFSEC Tech Talks. That wraps up our morning session, but we will be back in an hour's time, 1 o'clock, when we're hearing from the team from BriefCam. Have a good lunch. See you later on, and thanks again to Ian and Stephen. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.